Freddy, today I intend to tap into the human brain's deep-seated obsession with pattern, balance, and predictability. But fret not. I'm not talking about social engineering. That's reserved for my other tutorial series, Techniques for World Domination. No, today we're diving into something far more civilized. The art of the visually pleasing, the hypnotic, and the endlessly looping. A satisfying animation so seamless, so entrancing, that one might just lose an afternoon staring at it. And frankly, that sounds like time well spent. Let's get to it. Welcome to Blending with Algernon. I am Sir Algernon, Blender Instructor Extraordinaire, and this is my faithful companion, Freddy. We are working in Blender version 4.4. Wait a moment, Freddy. Has there been an update? Oh, brilliant. You know how software engineers love to improve things, usually by breaking them. 1 minute, a feature is exactly where you left it. The next, it's been upgraded out of existence. And let's not forget their favorite trick, turning a perfectly working function into a brand new bug somewhere else. If Blender weren't free, I'd be demanding a refund with interest. But since we must suffer in silence, let's soldier on and pray we don't trip over any bug fixes in the process. Clear the canvas, please. Let's begin by creating a torus. Freddy, why do they call it a torus? The word sounds nothing like the shape. A sphere sounds round. A triangle sounds pointy. Torus sounds like an ear infection. They should call it donut, or if they want to get fancy, donus. Yes, we shall rename it donus. Freddy, send a correction to Webster. Let's tab into edit mode and press Alt-S to resize our donus to give it some girth. Perfect. Now back to object mode and add a decimate modifier. The decimate modifier allows you to reduce the vertex face count of a mesh with minimal shape changes. In our case, we shall use the unsubdivide option with an iteration of 1. This will collapse some of the vertices and give us this very nice diamond pattern. Apply the modifier. Next, let's add a simple deform modifier. We have a few options here, which you may certainly play with, but for our demonstration, we will stick with the default twist. Apply the modifier. Tab in to edit mode. We want to select strips of faces around our twisted donus. Double-click with the left mouse button to select a continuous strip of faces. Shift-select every other one for a total of 3 continuous strips around our donus. Shift-D to duplicate our strips and press Return to keep them in place. Press P to separate our selection into a new object. Tab out of edit mode, and you will see in our outliner that we have 2 objects, our original donus and the donus strips. Let's hide the original donus for the moment so we can focus our attention on the strips. We want to convert the 3 strips into curves. For this, select one of the strips with the letter L. Control R will create an edge loop along our strip. Press Return to keep the new edge loop centered. Press P to separate it into a new object, and repeat for the remaining strips. Once we have our 3 new objects, we are done with our strips object. Delete it as it is of no more use. Now we have a spirograph of 3 separate mesh objects. While they look like curves, they are not yet. We must select each and, under Object, convert them to curves. Lovely. Let's get organized. In our outliner, let's rename our objects to more sensible names. Torus to donus, and the 3 new curves to curve 1, 2, and 3. For the next step, we need balls. Create a UV sphere. Scale it down a bit. Let's add an object constraint to it. Select Follow Path from the Constraints menu and set the target to Curve 1. Tick Follow Curve and click on Animate Path. Hit play on our timeline and our ball comes alive. Wonderful. Let's give our ball some companions. Duplicate the UV sphere and under the Constraints tab, select Curve 2. Click on Animate Path. Hit play on the timeline and rejoice. Repeat for a third ball. It's like watching 3 bees frolicking in a meadow, except the bees are blind, the meadow is on fire, and one of them is holding a tiny can of petrol. But let's not dwell on that, Freddy. Instead, let's rename the spheres accordingly. All right, texture time. Split the main window and switch the top window to the shader editor. Press the Materials tab in the Properties panel and click New for a new material. Name it Ball. We'll keep the ball texture simple. Increase metallic to full and bring down the roughness for a nice shiny luster. Switch the viewport shading to rendered so we can see our balls. However, we'll need a light. Let's create one. An area light will do the trick. Move the light up a bit along the z-axis and change the shape to a disc. Make it a bit bigger, say around 4 meters, and increase the power to 500 watts. Yes, our ball looks good, but let's make it better by selecting Shade Smooth. Select our remaining balls and repeat. I like it, Freddy, but much like an overzealous street juggler trying to impress a disinterested crowd, I want more balls in the air, preferably without everything coming crashing down in a tragic display of misplaced confidence. Duplicate ball 1 in our outliner and rename it Ball 4. Select the Constraints tab for Ball 4 and set the offset to 50. This will place Ball 4 to the halfway point along the looping path. Perfect. Duplicate Ball 2 and Ball 3 and rename to Ball 5 and Ball 6. Set the offsets for these to 50 and hit play. Wonderful, Freddy. Bring back our original donus for reference. The donus needs work. Pause the animation and select the donus. Tab into Edit mode. As we did earlier, let's select some strips around our object, but this time select the strips without the curves. With all 3 non-curved strips selected, extrude and scale out. Then extrude and scale out once more, but just a touch, to give it a bit of an edge. Next, select the strips with the curves and scale down a touch. Let's soften those edges with the Subdivision Surface modifier and Shade Smooth from the Object menu. We're getting there. Time to give the donus a texture as well. Add a new material and name it. For the donus, I'd like some translucency. So let's combine a principled BSDF with a translucent shader. Use a mix shader to combine. Also in the Properties panel under the Material tab, scroll down to the Settings and change the thickness from sphere to slab. This will give the texture a bit more silkiness. Let's adjust a few settings and see how we look. Adjust the factor in the mix shader. Also bring down the roughness and increase the weight under transmission to 1. Getting there, but I need to see it against black. So go to the World Settings and change the background to full black. Not there yet. Let's add a glare node. Go to the compositor and tick Use Nodes. Add a glare node and set it to bloom. Let's increase the light power for a nice bloom effect. Let's double it to 1000 watts. Better, but not there yet. Let's set up a camera and see what we see. Create a camera and using Ctrl-Alt and numpad 0, lock in our framing. Perhaps not straight on, Freddy. Let's come in at an angle. I like it, but the texture needs more transparency. Go back to the shader editor and let's swap out the translucency shader with a transparent one. That's it, Freddy. The transparency shader was the key. All right, a bit more animation and we'll call it a day. Select our curves, 1, 2, and 3, and then the donus. Ctrl-P to parent the curves to the donus. In the timeline, let's set our frames to 300. Rewind the playhead and keyframe the rotation of our donus on the Z-axis by hovering in the Z field and pressing the letter I. Move the playhead to the end and keyframe the Z-axis to 360. Hit play. Wonderful, Freddy, wonderful. It's becoming quite satisfying, don't you think? Let's move our camera in a bit tighter and bring our light in a bit closer. Freddy, let's check our glare node. I'm not feeling the full effect of our bloom for some reason. That all looks correct. Our viewport shading needs to be set to always. Perhaps they'll fix that in version 4.5. That looks wonderful. Time to render. Select your output of choice and hit that magic render button. Hypnotic, soothing, and deeply satisfying, don't you think, Freddy? In fact, I might just park myself here for a few hours, contemplating the mysteries of the universe, or, at the very least, avoiding any actual work. Thank you for watching. Please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing this video. Also, look for a link to the working files for this project in the notes below. I am your humble host, Sir Algernon. Until next time.